Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I am your host, Adam Cousins. Before we start today, just want to thank Inside the Ropes for a fantastic event yesterday with Eric Bischoff. Wonderful evening. Great to meet the legend himself. And it was a very good evening. And thanks to Fiona for looking after us from Inside the Ropes as well as Kenny McIntosh was the maestro, as he always is. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk all about our today's guest, which is someone who is going to be celebrating. Well, not him. He's not going to be celebrating his second birthday the weekend. It would be kind of worrying next weekend if it was him. But it's actually going to be the wrestling company that he used to wrestle for. He helps with the backstage and the sound and everything else. It's Jurassic Pro Wrestling. It's their second birthday next Sunday, October the 8th at the Mayfair Primary School over in Harwich in Essex. And I am joined by Alex Ecco.
Ecco.
There he is, the man himself, Alex. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm good, but I'm disappointed. I can't see Floyd.
One sec. I haven't touched my merch bag since I last wrestled. Bandage and all, look.
He's got a bandage on himself as well after. Didn't Ben, wasn't something that Ben done? Did Ben do something to him?
Yeah, a little bit of a bender.
Right, okay, let's start with all things Jurassic. Look, 2 years ago, you guys didn't just wake up and go, we're going to put a wrestling show on in Harwich today. It's not as simple as that. How did the foundations begin? How long roughly from discussion to show? And also, why dinosaurs?
I mean, we're a family show. Kids love dinosaurs, right?
Yep.
Marketing 101. To be honest, so we the seven of us were in a group chat and it was lockdown and everybody was down. And I guess the thing that got us through that period of our lives collectively was just saying, guy, if we could, we should just run one show together. And I think a load of the Harwich guys already had the name Jurassic Pro Wrestling. Like, I think Harry had been making graphics for at least a year before that with the name Jurassic Pro Wrestling. So when it came to naming it, we were just like, hey, we're family. Kids love dinosaurs. I'd know. My four-year-old loves them. So, the market research was already there. So we just went with it.
And it was a great success. Putting on the first show, did you find, obviously you're booking talent, you guys are all on it as well, but you're booking other talent to come in. And I kind of know because I obviously we co-produced our own show with Ignite earlier on in the year in July. Show that the week leading up to it is stress, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the most stressful part is, and I guess this is my favorite thing about no longer wrestling, is that I can go to a Jurassic show now and not worry about performing and dealing with the other bits I deal with. For me, the most stressful part is figuring out the cameras, figuring out making sure I've got all the music, because my laptop's the laptop that we bring, and all the songs are on my playlist. And the most stressful thing for me was on the day when I had to go out and wrestle, we had to get one of the other guys in to sit on the sound desk.
Yes.
And trying to teach them within 5 minutes. You have to go from Spotify to this, play this song. You have to do the volume. For me, that was the worst.
I know. I remember.
At least I could just sit on the sound desk all show and not have to worry about anything.
Exactly. I know. I think Corey was over there at the last event. I'm sure Corey was over there.
Yeah. To be honest, he was really good.
He is good. He's not just a good in-ring guy.
He's a quick learner with wrestling and with sound. So
there you go. So any sound people out there, if you need someone, Corey is your man. But from the first show, how quickly did it realize that you guys were onto something here? We should do another one.
I think before the first show, we'd already kind of discussed we'll do it bi-monthly. So I think we already had the date for it would have been the December. I think we already had the date for the December down. And after the first show, we'd announced it. So we kind of already went in with the idea of we're going to try this for, I think the idea was we were going to do 6 shows. Because I think I'm trying to remember. I think the original plan was we were going to do 1 show, but then Sam was looking at the insurance, and it was cheaper if we bought a year. So we were all just like, well, I guess we're going in and we'll just do 6 shows and see how it goes. So I think that was always the idea.
Well, it worked, put it that way, because you're now following up with more than 6. When you look at talent, when you like to book talent and get talent to come in, obviously it's availability and that, but do you have like a rough idea of, right, well, it'd be great if we could get this person? Is there like a set, I suppose, people that you want to bring in, or is there just a rough idea, or is it just discussed within the group?
It's, I mean, at times it can be, obviously with 7 of us, we all obviously have different opinions. Like, so it's always a discussion. It's kind of like, luckily there's an odd number of us. So if there's anything massively that needs discussing, it goes to a vote, and usually it's 3-4. I mean, I'd always put my suggestions in because of the 7 of us. I think me, Ben, and Corey were the ones who were traveling around the most.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd always suggest like the UBW guys, people that I knew from Sacrifice, like DOA wrestlers. I'd always be happy to put their names in because I see them work consistently. But yeah, it's always a suggestion, and sometimes those suggestions will go through, sometimes they don't. But it's always met with, us all coming together and just deciding who would be best. We work well as a team when it comes down to it. When
you need to, he does. Obviously, you got the Lost World Championship, and now you've got the Indominus division. So what point did you think we kind of, obviously that is a title that they win. What point did you kind of realise we kind of need that secondary title at Jurassic?
I think it was when we got to the first year. I think that's when the discussions started. And then from there, really, we just decided, what do we want the championship to be? I think a couple of the guys were saying like about how like the X Division and TNA was really cool because it was like fast-paced wrestling, no rules. So that was what the idea of the Indominus, because a lot of people ask, what is Indominus like? And I didn't even know. It took a couple of the guys in the chat to say, well, they're a hybrid dinosaur. So obviously then you think hybrid wrestling, technical wrestling, high flying wrestling. And that's the kind of style that we've gone with the Indominus division. I think if you look at the people that competed in the tournament, you can kind of see a correlation. All of their styles kind of mesh together quite well.
You certainly can, and yes, they did mesh very well. I think I've been there through them all. I'm pretty much sure I was at every one of those Indominus events. So
I get confused myself.
Yeah, I know, because I've had that, and obviously got the Ignite Breakout, and I'm trying.
Yes,
to, some of them are very similar. The wrestlers in there are very similar. Like Jackson,
because they had Tommy Lawrence, Josh Spicer. Yeah,
that's it, and Jackson as well. I know.
Yes,
he was in there. So I was trying to figure out. Every time I kept thinking of a name, I kept thinking, was that Jurassic or was that Ignite? I can't remember because we were at both shows. But how important is it though to have that kind of relationship with other promotions? Because obviously you're trying to, sometimes you've got to book their talent on, you've got to be mindful of their dates with their, how important is that kind of friendship between it? Because I talk with Pro Wrestling Carnage out in Wales, and they pretty much, those guys on those shows and in Wales, they have this really big bond together so they can just pick and choose.
Yes.
Right. So how important is that, especially in independent wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's always good to work with other promotions. Like, I mean, I've seen it really well done with Sacrifice UBW. Like, if they have shows on the same day, they'll make sure the times go. And, I just think it's 2023. Like, if companies can't work together, what's going on? We always have that. I mean, especially me, like, my own personal opinion is, say somebody comes to us and they say, hey, we've got X opportunity at X promotion. You have to kind of look at it and think, in the grand scheme of things, we are who we are. And if somebody has the opportunity to go wrestle at a show where they have 300, capacity or whatever, and it's a big production, like we've had it before where somebody said to us, hey, I know you booked us, but like, here's what I have offered to me. And I'm of that opinion of, if somebody's got a bigger opportunity, take it. We have a load of the guys who wrestle for other companies, and they'll nicely message us and say, hey, I have this. If it's not too much trouble, could we go on first, because we need to make 2 shows? And where we can, we accommodate those people so that they can work as much as they can. it didn't work out because Tommy Kyle got hurt, but originally we were supposed to have the Sacrifice Ticking Time Bomb Championship defended on our show. Obviously, Corey comes out with the Ignite Championship. He's the Ignite champion. So as long as things make sense with people coming out with other companies' championships, we don't want to book somebody, have them lose, and make that the company look bad. So like if it makes sense, we'll do it. Collaboration, I think, is the greatest.
It is
thing. Teamwork.
It is, absolutely. And you've also now got the Turnbuckle champion appearing extension too.
Yes. One of my favourite people. He's got his mum's eyelashes and his dad's sense of direction. Smashing Mike. I love that man.
Yes, he is. He's definitely our champion. Well, at least for now. We will announce his opponent in due course for his first defence. And trust me when I tell you, it's going to be a big test for Mike. But I'm sure he'll pass it with flying colours. Anyway, talking of tag teams, we'll be remiss if we didn't talk about your former tag team, the Lads. Probably one of the most lovable tag teams. And also, when I was there, when Ben did turn, I interviewed you soon after Ben.
Yes.
And I have to admit, even for an independent show, to this day, I still got it that eerie silence in that school when that Ben first clotheslined you. It was crazy because everyone was just like in shock, and I don't think I'd seen that at an independent show for a while. But before we get to that bit, when did the Lads form? What was the discussions about? The Lads getting together and your gimmicks, and obviously when did Floyd come into the mix?
So we both started training at SOS in Harwich in 2018. I joined the first week of 2018. Ben joined the second week of 2018. Obviously, because he was a new guy and the previous week was the new guy. I had a load of the guys welcome me. I mean, off the top of my head, Xander, Corey, Nick Payne, all those guys kind of were the first ones to really help me in. So when I saw Ben was new the week after, I obviously gravitated towards him, said, hey, I was new last week, got to know him a little bit. And he said he lived in Stowmarket. And I said, well, hold on, I live in Stowmarket. We're the same age. Our paths have never crossed. And it just seemed like it was meant to be. We trained consistently. May of that year, me and Ben made our debuts together. We were told that we'd be a tag team for a very short period and that then we'd go our separate ways. But yeah, 5 months into training, we debuted, and then probably consistently from then, if I remember my Excel spreadsheet, we wrestled almost every show that year, stayed as a team, went everywhere that we went as a team. The only time we didn't get booked together was when Ben hurt his ankle. Apart from that, we were consistently a tag team the entire time we were together.
And I think it made that turn when Ben done it a lot more significant because obviously you'd been together 5 years at the time. I said 6 in that first interview that we done. And you corrected me very nicely. And
technically 4 because we lost a year in the middle.
Well, there you go. So 4. There we go. It's now 4. But that made that turn, as I said before, the silence. When you kind of do that, and because it was the end, wasn't it? That was the end of the show.
Yes, yeah, we were main event.
That's how you ended it, because it's very unusual for a show to end in a negative. Although you did get on the mic and announce that you were going to challenge him, and for the next show. Was that the response? And I'm guessing it was that you were looking for when it happened. That shock, and then the boos, and then but to still spin it for that happiness that you're going to challenge him, and you're not. That's not how you're going out.
So yeah, I mean, the thing is, my last match was drawn out for so long, and I didn't even want it to go that way. When I went to Sacrifice Wrestling, I got told by the guys, Alex, what we're going to do is Act 2, after your match, they're going to beat you down because we want them to be like a big, heel unit and all of this. And I was like, hey, I'm happy to do whatever. You guys do what you need to do. I'm just happy to be here. And what happened in the end was that they ended up giving, Act 2 didn't beat me down, and they gave me a nice farewell. And I wasn't expecting a farewell at Sacrifice. And then DOA, I got a nice farewell. And it just seemed like my whole last couple of months was just me saying goodbye to people, and I didn't want it to go like that, really. I felt like it was the longest 2 months of my life. But when it came to that Jurassic show, names disappear from me. But the show where me and Ben teamed up against Dexter and Xander and my favourite tag team in the country, the Odyssey, who I love dearly. The reaction at the end of that show, it made it all worth it that some people cried because it broke my heart. But the fact that we got that response for something that I didn't know if people would care about, stupidly, because that's just how I operate. But the fact that we got that response, it meant a lot to me. It showed that we had built something over those years, and to see it break up in that fashion, it meant a lot in a weird way.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, and it's very unusual that then you announce the unsanctioned match and Ben wins. Obviously, I suppose because you're on your way out, it made sense for Ben to do. But usually, it's the happy ending again. But apart from the end when you got raised on everybody's shoulders, and that's how again the negative end of the match turns into the positive because you're on everyone's shoulders. But I suppose it made sense for Ben to.
I'll take the kayfabe hat off. And I will say that a lot of people questioned that because it's always should be happy endings.
Yeah.
For me, the happy ending was me and Ben won our last tag team match in Harwich. Like that's the thing that to be fair, even then I pushed not to because I wanted the Odyssey to win because I love them too much. I was like, every time I've wrestled those guys, we've won. Like I want to put them over once, but I got told no. Like But for me, the happy ending was that we won our last tag match. I always said to Ben that when I decided I was going to leave, because it had been spoken about on and off for a long time, and wrestling kept drawing me back in and I kept carrying on. But when I knew for certain, I said, whatever you want to do, whether you want to stay a good guy or you want to go bad, I said, I want to set you up in the best way I can, because it would be selfish if I went over, because I genuinely don't feel like I'm ever going to wrestle again, and now I'm very content with that decision. I didn't think I would be, but like I definitely wholeheartedly know now that I don't want to perform anymore. So I would have felt really weird if I would have gone over just to have a happy ending. I didn't feel like I needed a happy ending. I feel like my entrance was my happy part. Like every match I had, I got beat up, the fact that I should fight in that match was enough for me. The fact that I defied him for so long was enough for me. But ultimately I needed Ben to beat me.
Yeah. Exactly. It did make a lot of sense. But you're sort of saying did it take you long to get into that state now where you are content with no longer wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely the decision's been really hard for me to make. Obviously family always comes first.
Yep.
And I'm under no illusion, like the whole thing with professional wrestling, and I'm very black and white about it. Like there's people that are meant to make it, there's people that aren't meant to make it. And I know a lot of people fake it until they make it. They'll say stuff like, I'm the best in this country, when genuinely they may be not the best in the country. But that's how you've got to talk in wrestling.
Yeah.
I've always said that I have a ceiling, and I felt like I hit that ceiling, and I was consistently working, but I felt like it would take me a lot more to get to that next point. And genuinely, I don't know if I had the work ethic in me to do that. And that's just me being completely honest. Like I've struggled for years with exercise and weight and stuff, which is why I always wore a shirt. I knew that I had a ceiling. Like I wouldn't get to Rev Pro and Progress if I didn't put the extra work in. And just with me being a dad and the responsibilities I have, I didn't see a place or a reality where I'd be able to do that and make consistent money to make the sacrifice worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes perfect sense. It's good that you are content with it. Now, going back to the sort of ownership side of things with Jurassic, how important is this? One thing I have learned working a bit more closely with Ignite recently is that you can book the biggest names that you can book. However, whether you could book your likes of your Colin Millses, your Michael Oku's, or people like that. But the reality is, the crowd have to know who they are for it to work, and secondly, you could easily sell out a show on storylines itself if you make that previous show worth what, or not even worth watching. But even that previous show so good with the storyline you coming on, you sometimes you don't necessarily need anybody else because the stories are there already.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. I mean, first couple of shows in, like we booked Elijah and LK Messinger, and that was mainly to give both CJ Carter, because he wrestled Elijah, and it was to give Tommy Kyle a match against LK. Obviously, that didn't work out because LK had hurt his shoulder, and that was, I think that was the only time we booked somebody who was at that. I mean, it's hard to argue now because of the trajectory of guys like Nino and Tommy Kyle. But like at that point, Elijah and LK were massive names. They were on the Progress WWE Network, whatever. But I think since then, and I guess because we're a small company, we have kind of just booked the guys who have got over consistently. So like Nino and Xander. The crowd obviously didn't know those guys before they started, because with Harwich, they are quite a like home-grown audience. So that's why like we've kind of had to obviously feature all of the 7 of us. We have Xander come in as well, like, and the Harwich crowd know us a lot. And we had to mesh people around us at first, just so they got used to these people. So that's kind of how things have grown for us. Is we've consistently had, until Tommy Kyle got hurt, we consistently had Tommy Kyle, Nino, Xander. Now Tommy Lawrence is heavily featured. We had Rain Leverkusen come quite a few times until she went to Japan. And obviously, she's doing really. She's obviously hurt herself now.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's the way we've kind of done things. Because for us, the crowds have always come for the Harwich people, because they've grown up watching a load of us. But I think we've done quite well in introducing them to new people, and I think they've accepted quite a lot of the new people.
Yeah, and how do you go about doing that? What is that? How would you go about introducing, say, a non-Harwich or a newer talent to Jurassic? How would you showcase that?
I mean, I guess for me personally, Josh Spicer would be a good example of that. Like, Josh is a guy who I have consistently hammered in, hey, I love this guy. I think I genuinely love him. And I'd sort of put his name in the chat quite a lot of times. And sometimes opportunities for these newer names come when we kind of need a replacement. I can't remember I think Josh came about when Tommy Kyle got hurt. So I sort of said, hey, Josh Spicer. And like, it was just letting him go. I mean, he went out there with Callie Gray as well, who I think he's wrestled quite a few times in Harwich. So the fans kind of knew him. But just allowing him to, we're a big, the English language is leaving me, but we're quite big on just letting the wrestlers go out and wrestle. We don't really micromanage too much. Like, if there's something that we want saved for a certain match, we will let people know that. But apart from that, we just say, we're wrestlers, you're wrestlers, go out there and wrestle. And for a lot of the guys, that seemed to have worked, because I mean, I remember that first show that Josh worked for us. A load of kids left that day with his t-shirts, and that was just because he went out there and did what he did. And he has been back for us a few times since. And I just think allowing wrestlers to wrestle without managing them too much, they show the best side of them. Then, if you're telling them to do things that they're not used to, they're obviously not going to be authentically them. If you let them be themselves, they will do much better.
No, they do, and don't book him against Jackson Hart, because he's never beat Jackson Hart. Jackson Hart always beats him up. That's the
Jackson did beat Spicer, didn't he, at the last show?
Yeah, he's beaten him everywhere he's gone. You won't like me mentioning that. I think we got accused of bullying love of the week, because when I made a point of it, he's never lost to Jackson's never lost to Josh. So that wasn't Josh wasn't entirely impressed, but he's also, his theme music's hilarious. Spice up.
And I suggested that.
Did you?
Because me and him teamed up together when that time Ben was hurt last winter. I'd again. Oh no, that was when Josh debuted for Jurassic. Sorry, I'm forgetting. It wasn't against Callie. That was a return booking. Ben obviously got hurt, and me and Ben were scheduled to face the Odyssey last December, I believe, for Jurassic. And I said, hey, let me bring my friend Josh Spicer in. I know him really well, met him at Sacrifice UBW. And I said that we'll be Spice Up Your Lads. So we used that song, and then Josh came up to me afterwards and he goes, "I think I might have to use that music." I was like, "Do it." Some people aren't a fan of it. I think it helps him bring his personality out a bit more.
I think the music does help it as long as it makes sense to them, and I think
He
that's.
dressed up as a sexy Spice Girl at Wet Cake Pro recently.
I know.
Yes.
I'm still having therapy.
I'm not. I'm having recurring thoughts about it, and I don't mind.
Is he on the show?
The next one,
Yeah.
unfortunately not, but I will continue to hammer his name.
Yes, indeed you will. Indeed you will. We're going to start wrapping up now, Alex. But
Yeah.
before we get onto your tickets and then everything like that, and the matches that have been announced, I read somewhere that something like 45 to 50% of startup businesses and also companies don't normally last the 12 months. That's just it's a fact. It's out there. Why do you think Jurassic has managed to beat that and gone on? What is it that you guys do the most that's helped you along your way?
I think genuinely it's because we just want the pro wrestling to be good. We want it to be fun. Like my big ethos is after a certain amount of time, it doesn't matter where you are, you should be paying your pro wrestlers to pro wrestle. Yeah. Like I don't think that's a silly thing to say. So we just want the wrestlers to come down and have a good time. We want fans to come down and have a good time. I won't lie, sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. I don't need to go into why that is. Sometimes shows clash, and that can sometimes be difficult. But we came together as a group because we wanted to see pro wrestling thrive. And for me, I've had a load of fun doing Jurassic. Like every time I go there for a show, I think we've built a good team of guys around us, and I always think that helps. If everybody on the team is a positive person, it helps everybody be positive. Yeah. I'm a big positive thinker.
Oh yeah, it certainly does. I mean, they've always been good shows that I've been. But let's talk Extinction as we wrap up. There was a controversial thing announced this week, and I'm guessing you're one of the management committee, Alex, on this, and I'm going to have to pick your brain. Why on earth did you give Nick Payne the opportunity to invoke his release clause on this? I know it was probably a group thing. But Forrest didn't really get. You just stopped Nick from cheating.
That is entirely true. And remember how I said earlier, everything goes down to a vote, and it's usually 4-3. I was one of the 3. So I unfortunately got outvoted. I was sat at the sound desk, I believe. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah. Nick Payne was trying to cheat. Forrest Hayes stopped him from cheating. Sometimes, Cody, the official, can't be everywhere.
No.
Sometimes I think maybe we need 2 officials.
Yeah.
Let's do something different in pro wrestling and stop the cheaters from cheating. But yeah, the vote happened and Nick Payne has been put into the main event. I guess he's got the gift of the gab. He can get himself what he wants sometimes. I guess it's mainly so people just let him get what he wants so he shuts up.
Or he pays him.
Yeah, he could have paid him. Yeah.
Run us through the card, Alex, that's been announced so far, and also how special is this going to be for everyone attending?
I mean, it's 2 years. We crown our first Indominus champion, so I guess that's the best way to go. Yeah. So we'll open the show, I believe, with Jackson Hart versus Ted Sabin. For the last couple of shows, for whatever reasons, that match hasn't been allowed to happen. Jackson could have been allowed a bye into the final with Tommy Lawrence. He said he wanted to earn it. He wanted a semi-final match. So Ted and Jackson both agreed that they'd both potentially wrestle twice on the show. Yeah. So they will wrestle each other. The winner of that match will then go on to face Tommy Lawrence for the first ever Indominus Division Championship. I think the tournament's been great. Tommy Lawrence has gone through KM Lane and Smashing Mike to get to the final. Ted Sabin obviously lost first round to KM Lane, complained. There's a big thing with complainers doing what they want in Jurassic. Yeah. I think we need to hammer down on that. But Ted, argued his point. He ended up getting into a last-minute qualifier with Rain and Spicer. Yeah. Ted managed to win his way back into the tournament. And Jackson Hart beat Murdoch in the first round. Yeah. So I think the tournament's been great. I think it'll be a great culmination, whether we get Jackson Hart versus Tommy Lawrence, whether we get Ted Sabin versus Tommy Lawrence. I think whatever happens with the Indominus division, the matches will be fantastic.
I'm rooting for Jackson on that.
Oh, I love Jackson. What a guy. What a stud.
What a stud. Yeah,
What a
exactly.
stud.
Abolitious was the. But unfortunately, KM Lane's kind of pulled the short straw in this, and he's got Corey.
Yeah, I mean, Corey came out and
Attacked him, didn't he?
yeah, after KM Lane lost to Tommy, he got in KM Lane's face. So if anything, I'd be more worried for Corey. Like,
Really?
I've seen KM Lane wrestle here, there, and everywhere, and I think Corey's getting a bit too cocky with the new faces. I mean, he took Sapphire Reed took him to the limit at the last show, and then now he's getting in KM Lane's face. Like he's got something against the new faces that we're bringing into Jurassic, and I think eventually he's going to get his comeuppance. I kind of hope it's going to be next Sunday when he faces KM Lane.
Well, we sponsor Corey, so I have to go with Corey.
You don't have to. You could just whisper it to me that you're going for KM Lane. I won't tell him.
I'll whisper it to you off air.
Okay, all right. We'll
yeah. And obviously, our boy Mike is in his tag team against the brothers on this. I'll have to see if Mike's bringing a title with him and see.
Yeah, you have to ask him.
I will. That match is going to be an interesting clash. I mean, I've seen Mike and Nino go. I mean, you got the two quick Bryant brothers against kind of like a powerhouse unit, really, or two all-round workers. But that clash of styles really does work generally when they have the match.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's something we've managed to do quite well in Jurassic because a lot of places seem to worry about like what happens if good guys face good guys because the fans won't know what to do. But I think really like the last couple of shows where we've done it, the fans have just supported everybody.
Yeah.
So West Side Heat haven't been together in Jurassic. I think that was because Toner's injury as well. Like there was plans to have those guys back together, and we have used Mike consistently since then. But yeah, West Side Heat versus the Bryant brothers. I mean, firsthand, I've wrestled both teams, and it's hard to keep up with the Bryants.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Did you see me wrestle them? Like, the Lucha Mask? I don't know if that might have been before.
Yeah, the Lucha Mask. Yeah, I did. I was there. Yeah.
Yeah. It gave me the Lucha powers for about 5 seconds. And we weren't able to keep up.
No.
But yeah, like again, that's just a great fun matchup. I think they're wrestling each other at WrestleForce this weekend.
They are this weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So they get a trial run before they come and do
a trial run before they get
to
and obviously the other match that's been announced is the main event, which is fortunately Nick Payne versus Dovercourt versus Hayes. Going to be an interesting one. Obviously, we know Nick. Obviously, Hayes not long been back from injuries. Well, he's been back a while, but obviously he's had that serious injury as well. So, triple threat. Who's your money on, Alex? If you were,
who's my money on?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like you can't deny Forrest at the moment. He won the it was the gauntlet, wasn't it?
6-man.
He came up short in the fatal clawway. That was with Nick Payne, wasn't it? Yeah. So, but that was again. The herd got involved in that one. So Forrest hasn't had a fair crack at the championship.
Yeah.
But again, these three have like such a long running history in Harwich wrestling. Like Dovercourt Dragon and Forrest Hayes have been linked together since almost the very beginning. Yeah. And Nick Payne has just always been a thorn in everybody's side. For me though, like I Forrest hasn't been given a fair crack at it, like whether that's just in life, like his injury that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had 2 injuries that nearly stopped him from wrestling.
Yeah.
So I just think it's time for him to show what he can do, show that he can be the top guy of the company again. But then Dovercourt Dragon.
Yeah.
Like, he surprised everybody last show by walking away with the championship. I just really don't want Nick Payne to be the first ever 2-time Lost World champion.
I don't think anyone in Harwich wants that.
No, you won't hear the end of it.
No, you certainly won't. There was one more match that was announced. So it was RJ Singh and Kelly Six.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was racking my brain without trying to go on my phone while we were talking. I was trying to remember, but that got announced at the last show after the gauntlet.
Yes.
Kelly Six, for a very, very long time, has been very disparaging of RJ Singh, telling him he should retire, he's too old, all this sort of stuff, that he'll never get caught by the DDT. And again, these are 2 guys who we have brought into Jurassic, and the fans seem to react very well to them. And they're 2 pros, so I'm very much looking forward to RJ Singh versus Kelly Six.
Yes.
Hopefully, we get to see that DDT hit.
Hopefully we do. Alex, last thing before we wrap up, where can everyone get tickets for the Extinction 2?
This is where I need to go on my phone.
You do, and also you guys do season passes.
We do season passes. obviously, I don't know how it goes now if we sell them now, whether it would run from October to next October. Like, I don't deal with that side of stuff. I'm not a very good admin guy. But I imagine if you go on the website, it will describe all of that. So the website is jurassicpro.bigcartel.com. And look, hold on, I'll put look, you might be able to scan that QR code.
You can scan the QR code, perhaps. When it goes out, you can scan that. But that's where they all are. That's where it are. It's going to be a fantastic show. I will be there. One of my team buckle will join, perhaps, or maybe we'll have a different guest depending on who's going to be there. But I will definitely be there with the Hitting the Turnbuckle guys. People, it's a great show. It's a ton of fun. So
Thank you.
Please get down to Harwich and go and see that. And in terms of Hitting the Turnbuckle, we'll be there. But before that, we're in Cardiff at the weekend with Slam Masters. We've been asked to come down and see my boys in Wales, who I haven't seen yet. My other sponsor, Beers and Beatdowns, who I haven't seen yet, but I'll be going to see them on Sunday. We've been kindly invited down to the Slam Masters event. We'll be seeing Bullet Club ABC. We'll be seeing Subculture. We'll be seeing a few other guys. Wild Boar will be competing on a card. Then we are at Harwich for the Extinction show. Before we follow up with RCWA at the end of October.
Nice.
Yes, and then I'm off for my Progress debut. No, I'm not competing. I'm coming to watch Progress Wrestling over Halloween weekend, and then we'll probably end up with another Rev Pro event before we have the next Ignite show, when I'll get into that on another show. But we've got, speaking of Ignite, we've got Sunset Skip coming up later for an interview. I can't announce another huge name who we've got agreed in the last couple of days. I can't announce it, but go on, Alex.
Ask Skip about DOA backstage with his pre-workout.
Okay, I will ask that very question.
It's one of my favorite experiences.
I will find that out later on today. So yeah, I can't announce the big name, unfortunately, at the minute, because we've not got the dates and everything signed, and it wouldn't be right for me to announce something without getting it all confirmed with the particular individual. But guys, this has been Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. He has been Alex Ecco.
Ecco.
Your host, Adam Cousins. And until
next time, champion.
He's a champion. Where did that come from? And also, we have to have a special mention to Floyd. But until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.
Let's go swimming.
Oh, yeah, let's go swimming, everybody. Don't forget that. Let's go swimming. We'll end it with that. Let's go swimming.